Oh, wow. Have you guys seen the newest lever connectors from Ideal? We are using live voltage. Do not recreate anything you see in this video. We're going to be comparing the newest lever connector from Ideal to the Harbor Freight connector, the Wago connector, and the original lever connector from Ideal. Also going to show you a comparison of a wire nut and a copper on copper connection, pre-twisting versus just twisting, and a couple of other really cool things you guys probably didn't even know about. If I touch the connection together haphazardly like this, you can see we're touching these together satisfies the multimeter. So that's going to happen every time we open this circuit. Harbor Freight connector is on. My saw has a feature where even though I left it on, it auto turns the button off. I have to go push the button again to turn the saw on. So making this video is kind of an up and down pain in the rear. Please hit the like button. Let me know what you guys think about this. I think this is pretty cool. 0 amps. We're gonna go turn the saw on. We've got a consistent 6.6 amps again. The millivolt drop, 23.8. This wire nut was a 3.3 voltage drop. We're almost 7 times the voltage drop across this lever connector. Let's try a different lever connector. Here comes everyone's favorite, the Wago. The Wago is fully inserted. We can see both sides of it. We're ready to turn the motor on. 6.5 amps. Voltage drop, 7.9. Unplugging the voltage. Wago connector is now off. The Wago connector did really well at 7.9 versus almost 26 on the Harbor Freight. We've got the original lever nut from Ideal, one of my favorites. I'm going to show you why right now. Here's one reason why I like the lever connectors from Ideal just a little bit more. The flag is up. This kind of plugs onto number 12. And you'll see here where it doesn't actually try to spin. And you got to twist it to pop it off. If we put the Wago on, you can see how much looser of a connection it is. I really like the Ideal stuff. So I'm pleased that they came out with another connector with number 10. And the Ensure locking, definitely you can feel the difference when it really locks down and you don't lift these up partially to be able to pull the wire out. Also, they kind of naturally try to fall back down until they're all the way open. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they got a lot of spring tension. Even way out here, they still try to lock back down. The previous version of this would just kind of flip up and sort of stay up. They really didn't have any integrity. Like, that's considered open for these. And these are still considered closed, even when they're open that much, until that point where they're completely open. Let's get the Ideal on here. We are energized. Let's go turn the motor on. We've got 6.4 to 6.5 amps. Again, pretty consistent. We got 6.7 millivolts dropped, which is better than the Wagos. Now this is what we've been waiting for. The new lever nuts from Ideal. Look how hard that is to get off of there. We have been going in the furthest away port to ensure the maximum amount of voltage drop. So we're going to stay consistent as we did with the Wago and both the Ideal and the Harbor Freight. We opened up the furthest ports away. Let's turn that motor on. We got 6.5 amps again. Oh, wow. 4.2. 4.2 on this. Let's see what happens if we wiggle it around. Let me see. Better or worse? 4.7, 4.8, 4.2. You move it around, you can see where you start to get less of a connection, and the voltage does go up as it should. The voltage drop does. I like it. Voltage is off. Let's look at a copper on copper connection without the wire nut. We don't even need the wire nut. We're just going to twist these together, and we're just going to get a kind of a pretty decent joint on it. Nothing too crazy. Just in copper on copper. A little bit more dangerous. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. We might attach our ground stabilizers. There we go. That's energized, so be careful. Yes. Okay. That is the neutral side. That's the hot side. Same consistent pattern. Let's see what we got. 6.4 amps again. 2.4 on the twisted joint. No wire nut. .6 with the wire nut, tightening that connection that much more. There you go. These perform the best out of all the lever nuts. What's so special about these new lever connectors is that they accept a number 10. Part number 30-10L33. Note they're listed for dry locations. You can't use these outside. They feature some branding called Ensure. And just like the Harbor Freight connectors, I have yet to see an amperage rating. Every connector that we're going to be testing has a listing on it, whether it's a UL, an ETL, whatever it might be. All of the connectors are listed for their purpose. In this video, we're going to be doing something called voltage drop. Using millivolts on a ranging meter, we're able to detect very low levels of voltage across connections. We're going to show you how that works very soon. Let's see if we can catch that. By selecting the millivolt range on our multimeter. Not all multimeters have this capability. If we plug one lead into the hot of this receptacle and we come up here and we touch this bar here, you're going to see where we have a millivolt drop of 76 millivolts. And as we wiggle this connection just a little bit more secure, you can see where we can drop that millivolt rating. That's because we weren't getting a solid connection when we plugged into this receptacle with the meter, as the meter is not designed to be permanently plugged into a receptacle. So as we wiggle our lead here, you can see where we can drop our millivolts and get a better connection. That's basically what we're going to be doing with these Wagos. We're going to be reading across the Wago to see the voltage drop. Now the best way to see the most voltage drop is to put a load on this. So what we're going to do, we're going to plug our table saw onto one side of the extension cord, and then we're going to feed power to this receptacle. I've got it unplugged now. And this is the other side where our receptacle is getting power from. We're going to try to read across this connection point. It's long and ugly for a reason, because we're simply only going to be connecting our Wagos up here like this. And we're going to take our multimeter leads and read across these two cables. Now this can be very dangerous because we're in what you call series. Basically a millivolt connection would be the present voltage here across this connection to here, and you're going to see how much resistance, basically how much volts was dropped from point A to point B, and that's going to show whether the connection is loose or more solid than other ones. So that's why the wire is going to be bare like that. And we're going to be running our table saw, which has quite a bit of amperage. So let's get started. Before we go any further, let's check the connection and how it feels on these new Ensure lever nuts from Ideal. So I will say they really bite down nicely. It feels like it actually solidly closed. When I lift this up, you still can't pull out. You can see the transparent connection point in there. And it's not until you really lift up, actually we're lifting up right now and we're not getting any. You have to fully open it to be able to move the wire. And that's usually not the case on these lever nuts. Usually as soon as you open this a little bit, the wire is ready to release. And these go completely flat. And they do seem harder to accidentally bump open. You've kind of got to purposely reach for this. It's almost completely flush with this and not so easy to access. Even if I release some spring tension, there we go. Now we can move the wire and you can see where it bit down on that wire. Pop it back in there, fully closed. They still twist just like every other lever nut. And the question is, can we twist this out? I bet we can. You know what? That's actually insane. I'm going to show you why in a second. There we go. I'd like to try that again. There we go. Spinning at 360 degrees. Pops it out just like any other lever nut. But we do have some twist on that wire. And to this date, that's one of the better connections that I think I've ever seen from a lever nut. Let's see what happens with some number 12 wire. Again, you really got to know what you're looking for to grab that. It sits really flush with this portion here. Number 12 is in. Pops down there. And it's the same story. Actually better. Wow, look at the twist on that wire. Let's check the Wago. You can see the overlap there. They are easier to flip up. Pop it in the Wago, lay it down. As soon as we release pressure on this Wago, it's ready to come out. Doesn't have to be fully lifted up like the Ideal. The Ideal has to be up pretty far. And I kind of witnessed where the lever design is a little bit different and it actually really snaps completely shut. Okay, Wago's in. How many times do we need to twist it to get it out? It pulls out as you twist, just like this. And I'll have to do it again for you. Lever nut is in. As you twist and pull, you can expose the copper. You can see right there where we've exposed the copper. And if we twist a little bit more, every time you pull, it exposes more and more copper. Snaps down in there. Let's give it a couple of twists. I'm leaving my fingers in place as a guide to see if we're slipping off of the wire. We're actually twisting the wire tighter and tighter. There we go. And you can see the twist on the wire. These definitely hold better than anything I think I've ever seen. If we go to the Harbor Freight connectors, you can see where they don't really go in quite as easily. There we go, we're in, locked down, leaving my thumb here. I keep bumping the camera. Couple of twists and it's out already. Restrip. Let's go with the original ideals. Now, something I like about the original ideals, they kind of push on, and if you got solid, they almost feel like they connect really nicely with the solid. We're going to have to test out the rest of them. This is the original ideal. We're going to leave our thumb right here, give it a couple of twists, and it's just like the other lever nuts where it starts to separate just a little bit more. But I always feel like the ideal had a better grab than all of them. And the new ideal is actually pretty insane. And on the number 10, it's even more impressive. Yeah, that is very impressive from ideal. Let's get some amperage on these things. For this on our multimeter, we're going to be using these alligator clamps for consistency. They plug right into the leads of my multimeter. And now we can clamp onto the exposed copper on the neutral side of our crazy apparatus here. We're going to show you what a wire nut is so we have a control. We know what a wire nut is. We're going to show you what a wire nut is capable of so we have a control. We're going to cut the ends of this so we have fresh copper. We are not going to twist. We are just going to put a regular wire nut on. And for the purpose of this, we're going to have a consistent, we're just going to use a Harbor Freight lever nut for our black wires. This is simply just twisted until it got tight. I don't know what this connection looks like underneath. We can take a peek if we wanted to. Really, the wire nut is holding it together. There is some copper on copper connection there though. We'll give it some more twists there. We're going to plug this in. Now, it's been a while since I messed with this. I don't know if it's shorted or not. One of the best ways to know if it's shorted or not would be to take a multimeter and ohm it out. But this is tools and tactics. We don't do that. We just plug it in and see if it blows up. It did not blow up, I'm pleased to inform. So, with that, we can go turn on our table saw. Now, you can probably hear the table saw in the background. We can show you the voltage is present here now. We're going to turn on the table saw, and then we're going to be looking for a voltage drop connection. I can always unplug this for safety. I can unplug this for safety so we can start working on this. We're going to unplug it for now because what we're going to be doing is with our multimeter, we're trying to read across these two wires here. These two wires here only. So my experience with not pre-twisting is going behind people, opening up junction boxes, unscrewing wires to check voltage, whatever, because you got to get to the B caps to get your multimeter on the copper, whatever you're doing, troubleshooting, hot work, whatever it is, okay? As soon as you take the wire nut off, there goes the wire. Connections break apart, and yeah, they didn't pre-twist. Anytime that I've gone behind somebody that pre-twisted, I've had to physically take the connections apart by hand. A lot of people say you don't need to pre-twist, you can just twist on wire nuts. Let's see what happens. If you're a good electrician, you probably don't need to pre-twist. The thing is that most people are not good electricians. I'm an electrical inspector. I know. You can't tell me any different. Not everybody's a good electrician. Wish it wasn't true, but the truth hurts. Okay, so we got one on one side, one on the other, right here. We're gonna plug in our voltage. I purposely don't have my grounds connected together. This is kind of a floating system, if you will. Also, my grounds are gonna kind of keep this thing in place. We're gonna use them as little stakes. If I added grounds to this, it would actually make it a little bit more dangerous because I would have more potential and chances to get shocked while doing this. We don't need grounds on a bench test. Plug it in. Here we go. You can see we've got 0.2 millivolts. Watch what happens when we turn the load on. When we turn on the saw, the amperage is going to rise. Right now we don't have any amperage on this wire. 0 amps running. Let's go turn it on. With the saw running, we're at 6.6 amps. The voltage drop is at 3.3 volts. Millivolts. Next, we're gonna check the Harbor Freight connector. We're now at 0 amps. The cord is unplugged. If we were actually pushing wood through the saw and making that motor work a little bit more, we would see a little bit more amperage, probably upwards of 8 to 9 amps on our clamp meter here, which would increase our voltage drop. But across the board, all consistently, same load, which is what's relevant here, same connection point here, which is what's relevant here, varying connection points here, same constant connection down here. You can see where the voltage drop is more present on the Harbor Freight connector than the Wago, then the first generation Ideal, and then the newest Ideal is that much better. Better than all of them are wire nuts. Does it matter that we had that much voltage drop on our connection? No. I will say 0.24 was a little bit high. That was a Harbor Freight connection. In earlier testing on lives, I've seen a little bit better performance from this, but we had a consistent bench going on here, and obviously the Harbor Freight did not perform as good. When I did infrared, I would see about 100 millivolts dropped would definitely be a problem. So 25, you're getting up there, 1.2, 1.6, 4.6. Really anything under 30 is a solid connection. And as I mentioned, as the amperage increases, so does the voltage drop. You pull more load on it, the wire connections have to be that much better. Hey, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I had fun making this video. Give me some love in the comments down below. Comment, it's the first time you guys ever seen voltage drop. Did you know what voltage drop was, or did you just think it was a calculation that you did based on the length of the wire? 2 times K times I times L, blah, blah, blah. Put it down below. If you thought this was really cool, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe.